Okay, I mean, I thought the pitch of Scott was bad. Thank you so much for inviting me tonight. I think I first heard of Slow the Flow when Adrian slid into my DMs in about 2016 when I was an election candidate and a local councillor. But I'm really proud to be in this room tonight because as I came in, everyone said, been a stressful week for you, which obviously it always is. But actually, on a week when I think sometimes we've seen some of the worst of people, actually seeing people doing some of the best of people, what the best of people does kind of send you and remind you that there's a reason to do all this and there's a reason to fight for your community because it matters. And I'm really proud to amplify the work of this incredible organisation because you show what commitment and care for a community can lead to. Margaret Mead once said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever does. Now, back in 2015, I was away at Christmas and I came back to Yorkshire a couple of days after the flood. And I came back to find the community decimated, and I remember helping with the clean-up, but the scenes never leave you because actually when you're cleaning up a shop or when you're cleaning up a youth centre, you're cleaning up something that someone's put their whole life into. You're cleaning up their dreams, you're cleaning up the thing that people care about. And actually, we are blessed with independent shops for our high street, but that means that that's individuals' dreams, it's their savings, it's their future, it's their retirement. And it was honestly heartbreaking to see. But it's also easy to underestimate the level of anxiety that having lived through a flood like that left a community in. We all got on with our lives knowing that it could happen again at any time. And worse than that, it was something that we didn't have any control over. Just the option of waiting for flood infrastructure, and to put that into context, the flood defences for Hebden Bridge are going to planning this week. And it does take time and it's frustrating, but nature doesn't wait. We had a 1 in 100-year event, we had a 1 in 250-year event and a 1 in 500-year event, all within a few years because the climate is changing and that's the reality that we're contending with. So people didn't feel they had control and they became increasingly aware of the risks that they faced. And Slow the Flow gave people control. They gave people a sense that we could do something practical on the valley sides to make our community safer. It meant we no longer had to have things done to us, but we had things done with us. And in the quietly magnificent way that people in this community often do, we've changed our landscape and changed our environment. And it's working. We've been lucky in recent years to avoid flooding. But what's strange is that the more work that Slow the Flow do, the luckier we get. And not only have they made a huge difference in our community, but they've actually become leaders in the way that things are done as well. I am actually often asked by colleagues in Parliament about the work of Slow the Flow, and I'm always proud to talk them up. But it doesn't just stop in Parliament, actually. I met the King last year, which it was never something I really had on my bingo card as a boy from Calder High School. And it's really awkward if you ever meet the King because you sort of stand in a queue waiting to meet him and you're thinking like, well, what am I going to say? Because he probably doesn't know about the football and you've got massive fingers isn't a really good opening to a conversation. So I remembered after the 2012 flood that the King, when then Prince had come to Calder Valley and actually it had been made a huge difference because it showed that we were open to business. And I thought I'm going to talk about that because it'll remind him. And I said, you came to Calder Valley, and he said, yes, I remember that. He said, of course, the big flood infrastructure isn't always the thing that makes a difference. Actually, the natural flood management makes a huge difference. And funny you should say that. Actually, we have a group called Slow the Flow, and they got the King's Voluntary Award. And I said, you should come and see it. So I will keep chasing him for that. apparently might have better things to do, or just not realise that it is a better option to be in Argyll Crags looking at leaky dams. And I've always been very proud of an association with Slow the Flow. Believe it or not, Adrian and I did a tough mudder for Slow the Flow in 2016, 17, I think, to raise funds, and it was horrible. It was really cold and wet. It turns out, tough mudder, quite cold and wet. But they've also continued to be a powerful voice for change and delivered that change. Last January, we brought the chair of Parliament's Environmental Audit Committee, who are the body responsible for scrutinising how well the government are meeting their commitment to environmental protection and sustainable development to Argyll Crags, to see firsthand the work that's being done on natural flood management projects. And in June, Slow the Flow themselves came to Parliament, and they met with MPs and peers from all parties who wanted to hear more about what they were doing and take that message to different parts of the country. I don't believe it's any coincidence that in October the Environmental Audit Committee published a report into flood resilience that detailed how natural flood management can reduce flood risk whilst also developing wider environmental benefits, which was then followed by the government committing to increasing the use of natural flood management when they set out the reforms for flood investment policy shortly afterwards. And these reforms will see £300 million of investment for standalone NFM projects delivered in the next decade, which is the highest ever figure that we've had as part of a flooding programme. The commitment from ministers isn't just because Slow the Flow have been talking about how their projects work and reduce flooding, or because I've been doing it. It's because they've shown it works as well, and they've shown it can be done, and we've shown in Calder Valley, where we lead, the nation follows. So, thank you for inviting me today. Thank you for the 10 years of leadership you've shown, and thank you for being the small group of committed citizens in a room who are the only thing that ever changes the world. Thank you.